new functionality. It looks like we've got some new folks on the line today, so we might be repeating some elements that we've shown you in the past, but we will have some new elements as well. So I'm going to turn things over to Ashley, and she can take it from there. And then, of course, when she's done with the demonstrations, we will have time for questions. So go ahead, Ashley. Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to demo the resource search, which is almost complete. And just to remind you, I am logged in as a Shippo user, which has some functionalities as the pro user, but has a lot more functionality than what the basic user, which is the free version, would have. So we're going to go over here to resource search. And this is just a general resource search page. There's a couple different ways that a person could look for resources that have been previously recorded in our system. If you have the accessibility to view archaeological sites, you can search by archaeological sites, building, structure, object, district, site, and linear resources. We can also search by Smithsonian number or previous IHSI numbers for the built environment, resource names, counties, areas of significance, some archaeological terms for primary site types, or if it's a built environment, by the city, the function or use or subuse, and architectural styles or architectural builders, and then construction years. These are all different things that you can filter your results by. You can also search by, one of the easiest ways to search for a resource is typing in an address, just like you would do on your Google Maps or Bing Maps. And it'll take us to the assay office, which is right here. And so we can see that we have the building, we have the Smithsonian number, the U.S. Assay Office, its style, original use. You can also see some of the other resources in the area that have been previously recorded. If you do click this information, you can also view from the by right-clicking, you can open the resource record for the assay office. And so you can view all the information about the assay office, the property type, the address, its construction information, its use, its material, any photos that we may have, any previous site form attachments that we have. And then you can also view different other versions of the resource record. So if it was recorded in by, let's say, the transportation department 5 years ago, you could view their version of the record and then view the version of the record that the Boise CLG created 2 years before that. So there's this information here, associated projects, associated surveys.
And also, Ashley, I'm just going to jump in and say,
yeah.
As you're seeing, there are obviously the fields that are filled in here are not actual real fields. Pretty picture of Minnesota and other things. This is just as the developers are coding, they're just putting things in for now, but it'll all be actual information later.
This was used in a lot of testing. That's why we have a lot of different versions of the resource record saying it's not eligible, and we all know this building is eligible. So we have the general resource information, so the description, the history, its eligibility, which criteria, its justification why it's eligible, the areas of significance. If it's listed in the National Register, this information will show up here with the reference number and the date it was listed. So that's kind of just a quick review of the resource record each resource. So we have this resource, the building. So this is this information here pertains only to buildings. And then if you had an archaeological resource, the second tab would have information pertaining only to archaeological resources. Or if you had a district, it would have only district information on the second tab. The main resource field is information that is shared across all resources. So property type, names, ownership, temporal designation, description. So we'll go back to our search map. We can compare results, and let's say we want to search for structures, and we want with the resource name of bridge in there. So we can then search for all of the bridges. I didn't specify what city or what county, so it gives me all the bridges in the entire state. So you can see two of our resources here. The Boise River Greenbelt Bridge, which is an old truss bridge, and then the South Capitol Bridge. If you are a pro user, you can export your results in a shapefile, or if you are a basic user, you'll only be able to export the table results in a CSV, which has no locational information. But I'm going to filter this down one last time to, let's see, county, Ada County. I know all the bridges in Ada County, and then I'm going to download the shape polygon. And then I can go over into, if you have ArcGIS online or something along those lines, you can go in and add your layer from the file. Just give it a second. Okay. We're just going to turn off this layer. And then hold on, turn off the NRHP layer. And you can see that it imported all of the results with the information here. So this is just if you want to export the data and you're a pro user. If you don't want to export the data for any reason, that's fine too. So let's go back to our resource search. Another way you can search instead of address, you can actually draw a polygon. So maybe you want to see what's in this general area. We can buffer. We don't want a half-mile radius. We're going to bring this into, actually do feet, 500 feet. And it should give us the four resources that are in the area that we drew. So we have a ferry site, the Oregon Trail, and two different buildings that have been previously recorded. So that is our search. Actually, I'll show you one more thing. We have one other item that the table can do. If you want to change the columns in the search result table, like maybe you don't want the original use and you don't want the architectural style or the construction date columns, you can remove those And then it'll filter your results again without those results being those or columns being there. All right, do we have any questions about the resource search?
I've got a quick question, Ashley.
Yeah,
in addition to being able to draw a polygon, could a user upload a polygon like an APE and find the resources within that?
Yes, you can. So that's one of the things right here you can do is upload a shapefile.
Great, thank you.
And Mike, if you are a basic user, yeah, I believe it doesn't have a UTM or a lat long information.
But that, Ashley, correct me if I'm wrong, that information would be on the PDF site file.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
All the location information will be on the site file. So if you're a basic user and don't want to pay for the subscription, I mean, there are ways around to getting all the information you need, but it's a little bit more tedious. All right, so now we are actually going to show you how to create a project as we're going to start as a consultant role. And I'm going to be logging in. I'm logged in as Basic Plus. I'm going to create a project. So I'm going to click over here on our sidebar. We're going to create a Section 106 project today. So if you are an agency like the Boise National Forest, or you're a delegated city under HUD, you would come to create a project. You would select a Section 106 project, and you can name your project. Today, our lead agency, we can pick our lead agency. And just a reminder, if you are, let's say you're the city of Boise and you're submitting a HUD project, HUD is in the system as a bypass agency. So with their delegation authority, they have delegated to the cities, and the cities would actually, when they submit a project, it'll go right to SHPO and not to the lead federal agency. And then we can do, oops. And you can tell I'm logged in as the submitter organization under SWCA Environmental Consultants and my name. And then I can put just a brief project description for this. Our description, USFS plans to permit the creation of a launch pad for Starlink satellites. Related project numbers are for projects that may have changes or an addendum. Let's say, you know, the transportation department starts a project 10 years ago and they need to do additional environmental work. They can put in that previous related project number, and that will relate the two projects together. We hit create a project. We have the information here now. We have the project name, the project type, the lead agency. We can go in and add a lead agency reviewer. So these are registered users in ICRIS. So it's important once ICRIS goes live that you register so that you're in the system. So if a consultant creates a project for you, that it will go to the correct person and the agency is notified. So we can add the reviewer. We're going to review this information later, but we're going to click save. And then, well, that one didn't work. This might not work if this is working earlier. Okay. So we're going to go down and we are going to draw our area of potential effects. We have different layers here that you can turn on and off. So we have previous projects in the area, which we can turn off. If we didn't want to see all the resources right now, we could turn those off and we can draw our project area, or you can upload a shapefile for your APE. This is our project location. We're going to do 0.25 miles as our buffer. So this is our record search information. So if you do a record search with our office now, our general guideline is that it should be 1 mile literature review. So it always defaults to 1 mile. We have project surveys. We have ones created by this project or literature review. So you can look at all of the previous surveys that have taken place in this area. We have 3 pages of surveys. And then we also have a literature review of all of the resources that have been previously recorded in this project area. Let's see. So the next thing we're going to do is we've looked at all this information and we've gone out and we've done our survey. We're going to upload our survey. So our survey title. We can add different keywords. They're not required, but if you, they could be used later for research purposes. So you could put those in. You can upload your PDF of your report. And then next. And you can upload your area's surveys. So we're going to go back to 210. And you can see previous surveys. So we're going to turn that one off. And then let's say we surveyed this area here. And it's going to ask you for a survey information. We're going to only do architectural surveys. We're going to click that, maybe in this area. But then let's say that we did, you know, an archaeological survey in this general area. And we can do class 3 inventory. And then you can review all of your information. So it has how many acres were intensively surveyed and all of that information. And you can click submit. And so your survey was created. And then we can also look at our literature review. And let's say we want to update the information for the resources that are in our survey area. We can look at this. The amount of information previously filled in will vary. It depends on how or like when the last time the resource was updated. So if you had an archaeological site that was last recorded in 1966, there's not going to be a lot of information pre-populated. on the resource record. If you had a resource that was updated in 2017, it's going to have a lot more information already pre-populated. So we can review this information by clicking edit. There are two fields when you're updating a resource that have to be updated every single time. And one is the NRHP justification of significance and integrity. And so previous justification will pre-populate, but you need to actually put in information. And then the other field is your photo field. Every time you update a resource, you'll have to update the photos of that resource. And also put in a resource description. And then you can also confirm the boundary. So if the boundary is slightly different than what is in the system, you can adjust it. And then you can also go to your second page, which is property type, and make sure all the required fields are filled out. So each of the required fields has an asterisk next to it. It looks like, I think they're all filled out. I'm gonna mark this resource as complete. And so we have our resource down here. It's in complete status. To submit a project, all resources have to be in complete status. And so this is just a way for if you have like 15 different resources to understand which ones that you still need to work on and which ones you need to put in complete. Save this information. And then let's see. 1 second over here. So I think we have everything we need, maybe not. Maybe we need to upload a cover letter. So we have the cover letter. You can upload other attachments like photos. Oh, I know what else we need. We need 2 photos per project of your APE. Overview photos, so we can upload those photos. I think that's bigger again. Sorry, guys. That's project finding. We can put in the consultant can put in a project finding, demolition, assays, office will result in adverse effect. Oops. So now that we have an adverse effect finding, we have to put in the adversely affected resource. And just a reminder, if you are a consultant, you'll have to put this information in, but the agency can change all of that information. So if you disagree, agency, with what they wrote, you can change it. All right, now I think we'll be able to submit. So we have all of our information here. Should be able to submit to the Boise National Forest. Yes, do you want to submit? So now we have the events log that Svika had created the project 12 minutes ago, and then Svika has submitted the project to lead agency review. And let me move to our next window. So now I'm logged in as the Boise National Forest, and the Boise National Forest has a pro account. If I didn't have a pro account, I would get an email telling me that if I was an agency with basic, it would tell me that I had a project to review. But since I'm a pro account, I won't have that email available. So we can go down to the organization queue. Oops. And we can look at the projects that have come in. It looks like Svika has submitted us the Starlink Launchpad. We can open that project up. You should be able to assign reviewers. So, and you can assign more than one reviewer. So if you're like at the Boise National Forest and Joe was assigning projects out to his team, he could say, hey, Virginia, I'm assigning you this project. Hey, Mike, I'm assigning you this project. And then, so you're gonna have multiple people on a project. So as the lead federal agency, I can look over the information that the consultant has sent me. I can review the resource record. I can add information to it. And I can click save. If I want to change the status back to in progress, I could, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep it incomplete. I can upload additional information to the project. So let's say I had a DOSE I wanted to upload. I could upload that before submitting it to the SHPO. We're going to submit this to the SHPO after reviewing it. And at this point, you could submit to SHPO or you could have returned the project back to the consultant. So if you weren't happy with the consultant's work or you had a lot of comments, you could send that back with writing in comments to the agency. But we're going to just go right on to the SHPO review. So let's see. Updated. The project has been submitted to SHPO. We have the Starlink Launchpad. We have all the information. It looks like I could edit. I could add a secondary agency. Maybe for some reason the FAA was permitting the launching of this satellite, so we can add them. And the Boise National Forest could have added them too. And so we review everything. The SHPO has to look at all of the different resources. And we're like, this looks good. We're going to accept what they have. If we disagreed, we would have been prompted or changed anything, we would have been prompted with an official comment box, which would end up in the consultation summary. So it looks like everything is good, just for testing purposes. We are agreeing with the agency's finding over here of adverse effect. We've completed our reviews. We can put an official SHPA response in here, and we can click save, and then we can click complete. So this project has been completed. Now, if I go back to my federal agency account of the Boise National Forest, I'll refresh this page for you. Since this resulted in an adverse effect, it states MOA needed. So we can go down. Let's say we've had our mitigation meeting with the interested parties and we've executed the MOA. We can upload our MOA to MOA to this. We say signed MOA, save. And then as the federal agency, we can also say the MOA was signed today, December 19th. We'll have 5 years to complete this, and we can enter each stipulation in here. And it's in progress. We can add another stipulation. Oops. And we can click save, so everything's in progress. As the project continues on, the agency can go in and submit their information for each of the stipulations, and then the SHPO can go in and respond to each of those stipulations for the project under an adverse effect finding. See, refresh my email here. Oops, I'm on my wrong email. And just so you're aware, when you get the project back in your email, you'll get a project consultation summary from us now. Instead of a letter, it'll look something like this with the project name, the project type, the lead federal agencies, the project description, final determinations for eligibility, the agency project finding, and then our finding or our response to the agency's finding with our comments here. All right. I think we can answer questions now. I have several of them.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashley. I know that when we go through these, we end up running through it really quickly. We're just trying to get you a sense of the feel of what things are going to look like. And certainly you'll have opportunity to go in and use the system and work with it. And we are working on putting together training modules that will sort of address, these elements in snippets. So, if you just need to know how to do X or Y, you can go and look at the specific training module for that piece of the system. So I'm going to start running through these questions on the chat, and Ashley's going to have to probably jump in with a lot of the technical answers because that is not my forte. Can you select by an uploaded shapefile? I'm going to say I'm pretty sure that yes, that is the case. You can upload a shapefile, and then the map will populate with the sites within that shapefile. I think, is that what you're asking, Craig? And did I say that correctly, Ashley?
Yes, I think we covered that one when we were under resource search, that you can upload your, at each of the mapping components, you can upload a shapefile, or you can draw, or you can search by address. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Can we download PDF site records for all the results at one time? Ashley, I'm gonna have you answer that.
No, so you won't have the download option for all of them, like a batch download. You can go to each of the resource records and view the resource records. They haven't implemented the print, like the PDF export yet, so I'm not quite sure what it's gonna look like, Craig, to be honest. But you will be able to download the information from ICRIS. You'll also be able to go in there and access the old site forms. So all of the old site data will be uploaded into the system under the resource record into a PDF.
So Mike, you asked if you have an I assume that's archaeological site that hasn't been assigned a trinomial, do you search for it by the temp number assigned to it on the site form? Are you talking about a site that has been a record that's been submitted to our office, but we haven't yet assigned it a trinomial? Is that what you're asking, Mike?
Yes, yeah. I was just curious that if we don't,
Yeah.
I know you're just using addresses, but if you, like,
Right.
you'd be like, well, I've got a random site that I need to try to find, so.
Yeah. Shannon, one of her highest priorities is to make sure that all site records that we have, site files that we have before go live have trinomials assigned to them so that you'll be able to get at that information through the trinomial number. And again, I'll just remind you that we will be using the trinomial numbering system for archaeological sites as well as built environment sites moving forward after go live. The ISHS numbers or IHSI numbers will be part of the legacy data, and you can search by it. And so you'll still be able to access records with those numbers, but new sites submitted to us moving forward will have Smithsonian trinomials, and legacy data built environment sites will be assigned Smithsonian trinomials.
I'd also say, Mike, like once you put I think it's once you put the resource in complete into the system, when you're creating it, it will automatically give you a new Smithsonian number. So you don't have to wait for us, you don't have to wait to submit the project for it to get a Smithsonian.
Right, that will be auto-generated when you create the resource record. So so you'll have that number ahead of time now, which I think will be useful for a lot of you. Craig asked, so are contractors filling out the project view page? So that will be up to the federal agency, whether they want to fill out the brief, project creation page and send that to the contractor then to work within, or if they want to have the contractor do that for them. So you'll need to work that out with your federal agency to determine how they want to do that. Our presumption is most federal agencies will want to create the project so that, with their naming convention and everything else, but that's to be worked out between agencies and contractors. Will the report PDF still use the current SHPO report template? Yeah, that's not really changing. I mean, we are going through and, updating it and sort of so it conforms with ICRIS and that all makes sense working together. But yeah, that's not really changing. That's just a document you're uploading. You're not creating that document in ICRIS.
And I can tell you we have that almost done, the revisions to the report template with the new guidance.
Is there a cap on file size for reports? This has come up in the past, and I don't remember if we have set a cap on that. Ashley, do you know? It's just Ashley and I here today from the office. So Shannon, who is more of our detail expert, is not with us. But Shannon or Ashley, do you know that?
I want to say it's 25 megabytes. The file size, the max.
Okay. We'll make sure that that information is clear as we move forward. Will we have access to the original site forms? Yes, that's all legacy data that will be, you know, when you click on one of these, you know, documents, that's the legacy data that will come up for you to look at. So yeah, absolutely, you will have access to that. Can you describe the resource statuses? What if a resource is not revisited within a project but is pulled in via the lit review? I'm not sure I understand your question, Dana. Maybe Ashley, do you understand the question? Or maybe Dana, you can unmute and clarify.
I can tell you. So
Okay.
there's different resource statuses within ICRIS. In progress is a new version that you are working on. And then once you are done doing all the data entry to submit the actual project, everything has to be in the complete status. So you'll change it to complete when you're done making edits to it. And then once it's submitted to SHPO, SHPO will put it in the accepted status. The complete status is for when you've updated a resource or created a new resource. Everything else on your literature review will stay in the accepted status, if that makes sense.
And when you hit complete is when that trinomial will be assigned to the property. Can we upload site boundaries as SHPs? And
That shape file.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not my forte. Yes, that you absolutely can do that. Can an organization not easily see a list of all the recent projects without a pro account? So you will, if you don't have that level of subscription, you'll access your projects and you'll see everything that Ashley has shown you for project pages and all this information. You'll see that, but you'll access it through a link that will be emailed to you when you submit your project, as opposed to having the dashboard or the work queue. I guess we're not supposed to call it a dashboard for some reason. If a consultant does not pay for a subscription, but the agency does, or vice versa, will there be a conflict in the level of what each can do? No, the only conflict would come if in terms of permissions, in terms of, you know, if someone's trying to do something that they don't have, they haven't provided us professional qualifications that have been approved, but I don't think we're really going to run into that kind of situation. So that shouldn't be an issue, but no, you can move projects back and forth the same way, regardless of what level you have of subscription. Can we get a description of account levels? And yes, Mark, thank you for sending that link. How are federal agencies managed in the system? Do you have to have a federal subscription or to be shown associated with an agency? Does someone need to be the main point of contact for an agency? If you do not choose the Fed option, do you still get comments from contractors and SHPO online? So I think the answer to all of these are mostly yes. Do you have to have federal subscription to be shown or associated with the agency? No. You have to create an account. You have to become a user, a registered user, but you don't have to have a federal subscription. I forget, Ashley, about the main point of contact for an agency. Is there just one, or I'm thinking there's not. There's
No.
just, there will be a. Go
So
ahead.
if a project comes in, let's say you are a federal agency, but you have basic level, you don't want to pay the subscription price. Everybody that is a registered user within that agency will receive a link to that project to access it. So if you have a consultant working on something, everybody in the agency, if you're not registered, will receive that link. If the consultant, creates a project and puts in the federal agency, and they actually put in the lead agency reviewer, then only that person that was identified as the lead agency reviewer would get an email for that project. If you have a pro account in your lead federal agency, you'll have the dashboard. So you can look at everything the Boise National Forest has submitted in, well, forever, 242 pages of submittals to our office over the years. So you can look at that here. You can go and assign projects and sort through these, or sort for the names.
Okay. Back to the batch download question. Can SHPO assist us with a batch export of site PDFs if we have a large project area? Or is the expectation that we'll download each record individually? Ashley, I think I'm going to have to rely on you for that, but you can export it with a shapefile if you have a pro subscription.
Yeah, so if you want the shape files, you can export those as a batch upload for your project. If you want each of the PDFs, you will have to go in and download those at one at a time, I believe. I'm not quite sure where, because they're still building this part out, Philip. So I can check with them to see if they're going to have a batch download for the PDFs of the site forms for these, or if it's just the shape files. I can't remember at this time.
Just as a little background and context, though, it's worth maybe mentioning that, currently right now, when you submit for a record search to our office, we go in and we have to individually download those site files onto, the mechanism that we give you that information in, whether that's email or a flash drive or whatever. So this is sort of taking the place of that, where you are doing that rather than we are doing that. But if you have a shapefile of the pro account, it can be done more quickly. When can we expect a review of our Destroyer of All Things Historic project? Soon, Joe, soon. I know I've created reports bigger than 25 megabytes. How will we submit larger documents? Oh, go ahead, Ashley.
I was going to say, so like where you have photos now, Nikki, you'll upload those to the project individually. So that might help with that, bringing down the megabytes for a report. We would recommend always going into like Adobe and doing the compression of the report to make it smaller. If it's too big, you could take the maps out and upload them separately, because you can upload them more than one PDF at a time.
With auto-generated trinomials, what kind of QC measure is in place to prevent assigning multiple trinomials to the same location?
So the QC for that is the SHPO reviewer. And it is also the federal agency. If your contractor goes out and creates a new site, you should be catching that in your review prior to submittal to SHPO and deleting that resource.
The various branches of FAA will each have a separate lead reviewer. Is there any way to accommodate that? Actually,
I think,
do you mind answering that?
yeah, I think we would just have, so when you're logged in the FAA, you'll have all the registered users. So if it's like Heidi, yourself, and Diane, the person can select who to submit it to. If there's if they don't know who to submit it to, you and Diane would both get emails that there's a project submittal for you.
So our users plus 2 organizations in the subscriptions. I'm not sure I understand that. Craig, you have your hand
I
up
meant
anyway.
are users equal to? I forgot my shift.
Oh.
Right.
Users equal to organizations in the subscriptions. Well, every user has to have has to be under the umbrella of an organization, even if you're just a single independent person, you know, working independently. So I'm not sure if that, and then, you know, if you're an individual person working independently, you'll have your username, you'll have your organization name, and just one subscription, if that's what you're asking.
So this is an organization page. So USF Boise right now, they're permitted to have, they only have a pro account for 1 subscription that's been approved and reviewed by the SHPO and assigned to my user. You can also see the organizations of events of user, the subscription levels changing. So Shannon changing from basic to pro. All that information is captured here. So if you had 15 people under your organization, be it an agency or a consultant, they would all be listed here.
Please push for a batch download. Yeah. Yeah. You know, even if that isn't available at go live, you know, there are things that we will continue to build out in the system as we're able to. We do have an annual maintenance agreement with the consultant that is developing this application for us. So we anticipate continuing to build out more functionality as we move forward. So if there are things about ICRIS when we go live that you feel are missing, things you really in particular think would be very helpful as we go forward, you know, you can always reach out to us and let us know that. And you know, we'd appreciate knowing that, because if we hear a lot of voices saying we want this or that, you know, those are things we can prioritize as we are able to build on the system. So, and I'm sure when we're using it internally, we'll find the same things that, like, oh, here's something we didn't really think about, or gee, it'd be great if we could do this or that. And so, you know, we do expect that there will be, you know, changes as we go forward, but also increased and better functionality. So, you know, be on the lookout for that, I guess. I don't see any other questions in the chat. If anyone has any other questions, you can just hop in with them. We're about at an hour right now, but don't mind staying for a couple extra minutes if people have more questions.
Hey, Trish, can I, going back to my question about the site boundary shapefiles, there was a second part about uploading site boundaries as a batch.
Okay,
So,
and so if so, do we have to upload separate boundaries, or can we do it as one file? I have to defer to Ashley to see if she knows the answer to that. Sorry.
So if you have a discontiguous polygon or something for one like archaeological site, it will take multiple shapefiles at once. you cannot upload like 5 different sites all at once into the system. The only way you can do that currently is through the Surveyor app that will come with a pro subscription.
Or can you select one row from a shapefile for a single site? Dana, I'm not sure I understand what you're asking. I don't know if Ashley does, but maybe you can clarify that.
Yeah, so if we're uploading shapefiles per site boundary, are we able to select a single row from, say if we have a shapefile that includes all of our new sites for a project, when we are going into that single resource, can we select that one, or are we going to have a single individual shapefile for every single individual site?
The latter. So you have to have one shapefile for each individual site. And the reason for that currently is because of the issues we had with Esri compatibility, and we didn't want to have each user have their own ArcGIS license, so it limited our capability of the batch, or not being able to have batch upload.
Jenny asks, we've been uploading consultation packages to a OneDrive folder created by SHPO for our agency. Will that folder still be available after ICRIS goes live? Oh, I mean, our intent is no. I mean, our intent is after ICRIS goes live, we're moving away from that method of uploading documents and consulting with our agency. So rather than uploading it to the OneDrive, you would just upload it to ICRIS. So don't see any hands. Oh, if we do not have an ArcGIS subscription, is a bulk upload a possibility? You guys are killing me with these technical questions. I just can't answer them, Ashley.
No, but we are looking at ways with the Surveyor app to do bulk uploads, Nikki. It's probably just going to be more of a improvement once ICRIS goes live.
Okay, I'm just thinking we're going to be having a report coming up in the next year that's going to have over 350 sites submitted. And I'm thinking about having to upload all that individually, and it makes me want to cry. And it's all for one project.
Well, you'll be creating the site records, the resource record in ICRIS.
Well, they're already,
Right.
most of these are most of them are existing sites. I would say
Okay.
99.9% of them are existing sites. So there'll be updates, but the GIS data is not accurate. Like whether it's because of different, projections or whatever, that, and a lot of them were drawn a long time ago, sometimes the Sharpie and topo method. There's going to be a lot of updates that have to happen to the location of these sites in GIS.
Are these, do you have any of these now, or these site records now, or?
No,
are they
this is
not
no.
complete?
We're going to be having a contract. We're in the process of getting a contractor to do the re-survey and updating of all of these sites.
Yeah,
But they would be doing that in ICRIS after we go live. They would be doing it
No.
in ICRIS. So you wouldn't have to go in and do
Right,
this.
but we are going to have to pay them to do it, which will be more expensive because it'll take more time. That is what I'm saying. So I really would like the idea to see a bulk upload version. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
Because-
as we've said, and I'll continue to say, we will work with all of you to make this transition as easy as possible. You know, you're pushing my technical abilities, which I'm sure you've all noticed by now. So, you know, that's something we can go back and explore, but I guess I guess where I'm stymied with your question is that if you're hiring a contractor to go in and do these site updates, whether they're doing them, you know, in the old system or in the ICRIS, they're still updating the locational information.
Right, but if I were a contractor taking my contract, I would submit to me, the agency, a shapefile with every site in it, or a geo database with every site in it. I wouldn't create a separate shapefile for each and every site, which is what is being asked here. So that's what I'm saying is, you know, it takes time to create new shapefiles, and it's just an added cost on our side that would not be something that would be expected of a contractor pre-ICRIS. That's just my concern there.
I think
Okay.
where you'll see cost savings, Nikki, is like filling out the site form. There's less
Mhm.
fields for the archaeological site form. There's not, you know, doing the access database and then doing the print PDF with all of the photos and then creating each individual map for each of the site forms. So I think it'll still be faster than the old system.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we'll just see as we get used to the new system.
So Joellen, Mike, I'm going to come back to you in a second. Joellen, your question, is it correct? You'll need a pro subscription to do a record search. No, that's not accurate. You'll with a basic user can go in and look at the map and do a record search and view all the records. So, and that's at no cost. So Mike, can you explain how the pricing for different subscriptions tiers was developed? Also, will these prices change? So we did a lot of analysis of record search incoming funds for the last several years. And, you know, we're basing it on what we feel are reasonable prices for contractors, in particular for the number of record searches and the average costs that they expend for those record searches over the course of a year. And then, you know, as far as will it change, I mean, probably everything changes, right? I mean, there may be a point at some point inflation catches up with us. One of our, you know, I just want everyone to understand, you know, this isn't just sort of like a, you know, we're trying to, you know, do some kind of money grab here. We have to pay to maintain this system, which we really believe and hope that you believe too, is going to be beneficial for all of you and make things easier. It's going to, we believe, significantly decrease the turnaround time for our office in responding to your projects. That'll help your bottom line. And so, you know, the funds that we are losing by no longer charging for record searches, we have to make up somehow because we don't have you know, extra funds in our budget because we don't really receive any state funds. We just operate off a federal grant. So, you know, we're trying to be as reasonable as possible. We're not trying to put prices out there that are, you know, going to somehow pad our coffers. We're really just trying to generate enough funds to pay the developers to continue to maintain the system and, you know, build functionality for us and for you. So that's kind of where our analysis came from and how we landed on the numbers we landed on. Also recognizing that there has to be a free option because we can't charge for Section 106. What we're charging for is added functionality. It's value added, and that's how we will pay for the system. So Matthew, must the upload be a shapefile or can other formats be uploaded such as file geodatabase, spatial light, and geopackage, etc.? I'm going to say it has to be Esri compatible, but Ashley?
It has to be a shapefile, and we are working with them to allow other forms, but right now it's a shapefile.
Shane, seems like data entry would be more time consuming. I don't think so. I mean, we really don't believe so. It's there are fewer fields on the form than there have been previously, and there have been a lot of drop-down boxes added that should make it pretty quick once you're used to using the system, I think. Certainly, if we all find that this is a more cumbersome system than what we're all working with now, we'll try to find ways to increase the efficiency. That's really the whole point of all of this. And so, we're not we're not looking to make a clunky system. Not sure how site forms can be edited or corrected as the project review process moves forward. So if you have a contractor that moves a project to you, that submits a project to you, you can change and edit those documents, those fields, the site forms, the records. And then if you submit to us and we have some concerns or feel like we need something edited or changed, we can kick it back to you to be edited, from your perspective. So they can all be edited, throughout the process. Once it's submitted to our office, it's kind of shut down unless we kick it back to you. But if you just request us to kick it back to you to make edits, we can certainly do that. That's not a problem. Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate you that you think the fees are fair. Pipelines, power roads, pipelines, power lines. We're hoping that this might be easier because there will be a linear resource function that, type of record that makes it a little easier than trying to jam that square peg in a round hole, as we've been doing previously. You can have multiple agencies listed as, reviewers. So there's a lead agency, but other agencies can be included and have access to the documents. So I think that shouldn't be too much of an obstacle. That's hopefully not going to be a problem for you. In the review process, are they edits or changes? Is there a way to track edits in a new site record? There's the tracking for everything that Ashley showed you on those, kind of on the right-hand bar of a record or a project. So it does track actions there on the right, the events. So once something's been completed, if you edit it, I believe that'll show up as edited. If you submit it and we send it back, that'll show, each of those steps will show up as part of the record of the either the resource or the project.
Okay. Can I expand on that?
Yeah.
Because what I'm thinking is, typical process is we submit site records reports to the agency or the client or whoever, and they give us, their comments on it. We address the comments, and I'm thinking of it looks like this is more akin to like a working on a OneDrive or share drive, where each author can go in and change the physical document. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around, okay, if I say I have a project for Shane and he tells me I have a bunch of edits on your site record, is he just going to be making those edits, or how is that going to be communicated?
So that's communicated through the return to agency kind of option. So once an agency returns something to the consultant, they'll have a box where they can put in their comments of why they're returning it, or what changes they want to see. The agency could also go in and upload like a PDF to the project of or Word document of changes they'd like to see. And likewise, if it's just small changes, like you had the wrong architectural style or you had the wrong area of significance or something, Shane could just go in and fix those himself before submittal. So it just, I guess, depends on how many changes they'd want to see on the resource record, if they would formally send it back to you with lots of comments, or if they would just address them themselves. With the option of having this as a PDF, maybe they'll just mark up the PDF and send it to you as well.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
It's 4:15. So unless there are other pressing questions, which we're happy to take, maybe we'll stop this session for now. We'll post it online as we have the others. And we'll probably do maybe at least one more before go live, but we'll also be, I think, doing some more lengthy training right before and right after go live. So where we'll try to kind of walk through things from beginning to end. And again, we'll be sort of parsing out smaller pieces into sort of smaller training modules for if you're just looking for very specific, how do I do X or Y? So that's our goal, and we'll be building on those, you know, continually also as we go. So as always, if you have any questions, you're free to email me, and we'll get you answers as best we can. But thank you very much for joining us today. I know it's that time of year when it's harder to find yourself in the office. So we appreciate your time, and we'll see you next month. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye. Thanks, everybody.